What is up? Chris Fluke here, Weekly Word, March 11th edition. This is a Wednesday feature here, and I'm doubling down. I got a good podcast today. A little bit later, I'm going over to Life Advanced Fitness to meet with my, hopefully a new friend of mine here, Vince. Haven't met him yet, but I'm really looking forward to talking to him. We do a lot of the same stuff. We work with kids, we work with athletes. He's a track and field coach. He's working speed, he's working jumps, all that good stuff. And he just has some really good experience in the fitness industry. He's a friend of Robin Houston's who just did her Animal Flow here, which is a pretty cool, little unique workout here. So I took part in this class. We came in on Sunday, there were 6 of us doing the workout. It's unique, so if you have any kind of experience with wrestling or ground-based kind of combat type sport, sorry, not combat. If you have any kind of experience with ground-based training, you know, you're going to be comfortable in the Animal Flow class. There's like your hips are working, you're doing these different sit-outs, you're in the crab position this way, you're in a bear crawl position, you're holding a deep squat. So you need some mobility in the shoulders, you need some mobility in the hips. Throughout the Animal Flow, my hip flexors were kind of on fire. I had some soreness there. I had some soreness in the front of the shoulder just from holding these positions, you know, these isometric holds, things that I weren't accustomed to. Robin is she's a great instructor. She's got a great personality. She pushes you, but it's you're appropriately pushed to try new things and kind of explore new things. The Animal Flow sessions, you know, you have to learn a lot of moves. It was an intro class. So your mind had to be, you had to listen, and then you had to reenact the moves. And it was a while, it was a long time for me to really have to listen to what is being, like the command. You have to listen to the command, and then you have to do the move that she says. And it could be quick. It could be right leg under switch, left leg under switch, scorpion right leg, you know, left leg sit through and all this stuff, return to bear. And you're like, whoa, what is going on here? So it was pretty cool. I'll do it again for sure. Hopefully get some more in here. Robin, if you're listening, hopefully we could get a nice bigger turnout here as your business grows and what you do starts to grow. Now, I'm celebrating. Last Thursday was an incredible day. My little girl, little Emmy girl, turned 2 years old. So, you know, we're celebrating sleep deprivation still over at our house. 2 years of it, maybe a little bit more with the pregnancy situation. But it's been pretty incredible, and to really think about not having a child compared to having a child, it's like, what the heck did I do in my free time? I have no time for anything right now because this little girl occupies most of my time when I'm not at work. But anyhow, not sleeping great. You know, you're gotta engage a 2-year-old nonstop. And shout out to Marisa. She's got the tough job. She's with her a lot more than I am. As I'm sitting here doing these videos, she's probably at home right now trying to feed her dinner, trying to potty train her a little bit, trying to get her ready to go to gymnastics and all this other stuff. So, you know, when we think about the sleep deprivation side of being a parent, I really learned a lesson here. Unfortunately, our daughter had to have croup for me to learn this lesson, or almost relearn it, which is going to be a theme for this weekly word. At the hospital a few weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago, daughter just has croup and she just can't breathe. She's coughing. She's got a history of some stuff that we're just like, you know what? Let's play it safe. We got to go to the emergency room. We get to the emergency room and it was packed, man. I literally thought I witnessed somebody die that evening. Luckily I didn't. This person snapped out of it, but that would have been a first for me. Anyhow, whatever time it is, 12:30, we get there. We got to wait in the lobby till about 2 o'clock. Then we get to the back. You know, we don't get out of there till about 4:30. We start to see the sun starting to come up. During that time that we were there, Emmy decided, hey, I'm going to sleep. She falls asleep. I'm on a couch. You see the width of my shoulders is here. I'm on this little thing that I feel like is probably here. I have my legs. I had to extend it by putting a seat at the end so I could stretch out and lay down and put my feet on something. I pass out for like 35 minutes. I was probably drooling, snoring, talking to myself, who knows what. But because I didn't really sleep that evening very much at all, I had the deepest sleep ever. And if you want to learn a lesson, deprive yourself of something and then do that thing again, and you're going to really appreciate it, man. I deprived myself of sleep, and I appreciated that sleep more than anything in the world. Anybody that's done a fast for 24, 48 hours, whatever it may be, you will appreciate food once you eat again. Go outside, go for a long run on a 95-degree day. When you come home, you're going to appreciate water better. Deprivation is a great teacher of stuff, and I got to thank my little girl, Emmy. You've deprived me of sleep for 2 years. I appreciate it more than ever now. Thanks, little girl, and happy birthday. Lessons learned. Speaking of that, or should I say relearned, again, Dan John, I saw him present. I really started diving into his reading since I saw him present. One thing that he talks about, two things here actually, that I sort of started to incorporate with my workouts. Less can be better if less is more intense. Great lesson there. Do fewer things better. I had a conversation with somebody here that my cohort Frank works with, and I was like, you know what, I only do a few exercises. I just try to really get good at them. And she was like, well, doesn't that go against everything that you say to your clients? I'm like, not really, because I've been doing some stuff here for 20, 25 years. I work out, throughout the week. I get a lot of stuff done, but I just don't do it all in one night. So, if you only see somebody once or twice a week, it's like, hey, we got to get all this in. We got to get it in. We got to get it in. We got to get it in, because they might not do it on their own. But for me, I'm really focused on less can be better if less is more intense. You listen to my podcast in the past, I front squat. I press weight overhead. I do some barbell cleans. I do pull-ups. That is the bulk of my training. I will also pick weights up, carry it around. Farmer's walk, suitcase carry, waiter's walk, rack carry with a kettlebell. I'm hitting ab wheels. I'm doing Turkish get-ups, some things like that to really train the trunk. Other than that, that is it. I'll walk outside. My new experiment is going to be to put the weighted vest on and start walking the hill out here on Old Philadelphia Pike to get the heart rate up and to get the legs burning a bit. That's the cardiovascular training I'm looking. I'm looking for some low impact stuff so that I can wake up every day and feel great and feel like a champion, which I don't always do anyway, but that's my goal. That's what I hope for. So again, two things, boys and girls. Less can be better if less is more intense. Master the basics. Do fewer things better. Again, master the basics. Get really good at them. What I've been reading, Ordinary Men. Now, Jordan Peterson recommended this book, and he talks about it in most of his podcasts, especially from the early days. Ordinary Men, Reserve Police Battalion 101 and the Final Solution in Poland by Christopher Browning. If you know me, you know I'm into the darkness, so to speak. What this book is all about, it's about ordinary men. How exciting is that, right? What it is these men are about 28 to 40, somewhere in that range. They joined the Reserve Police Battalion during World War II, Nazi Germany, right? These men had blue-collar jobs, just an ordinary person. What made these ordinary men, how did these men become involved in some of the most violent massacres, basically, in some of these villages as they tried to liberate, well, no, basically what they did, they tried to eliminate all Jews in Poland. So, it sounds pretty deep and dark, but I'm almost finished with this book. And the first half of the book gives you the history and it gives you the background. And then it gets in the psychological stuff. How did this stuff happen? All of these men weren't anti-Semitic humans when they joined the Reserve Police Battalion. They might have done it. They didn't have a lot of military experience. A lot of these people didn't have police experience. They were just kind of joining in and doing their cause, so to speak, for their country. It turns out the man that they put in power in the early 1930s became a raving lunatic and wanted to exterminate all the Jews from Germany. That was a snowball effect. Only 36% of people in Germany voted for the Nazi Party that got in and won. Only 36%. So it's not every German, was anti-Semitic. But anyhow, what this book is looking at here is a social psychology type thing where, is it the group dynamic? Is it the authoritarian thing? Somebody tells you to do something, are you going to do it? Most likely, you will do it. We all think that we would be the hero, but at the end of the day, only 2% of the people that were involved, this is a rough estimate, only roughly 2% of the people actually kind of stood up and played that hero card. They might have been storing people, hiding people in their basement, hiding people in their attic. We've all know the stories. We've seen the movies, The Pianist, the Anne Frank story. Not all of us would hide somebody in the attic, We would love to think that we would be the hero, but we wouldn't be. And as human beings, we have to understand that human beings are capable of this evil. And if you don't believe it, look in the news. And it could happen to any one of us. We could be that person. I've said this many times, for me to be a 34-year-old male, if we go back in time, almost 80 years, 90 years, and you place me in Germany, would I be that hero? I don't know. I'm not confident in myself that I would be when 98% of the people weren't. I don't think that highly of myself to think that I'm some sort of, I will come and save the day. So what this book is looking at, we got that aspect of it. We've got the group dynamic. We got the authoritarian figure. They talk about the shock experiment. Drawing a blank. What's the scientist's name? Milgram experiment, where they had a scientist, they had an authoritarian figure who was a scientist, telling people to press the shock button, and basically they had an actor in there that was acting out, yelling, screaming, things about how painful it was. So, in the Milgram experiment, the authoritarian figure told people what to do. Most of the time the people did it because they could kind of place the blame. I was only doing what I was told, which is what happened with the Nazis, post-war, Nuremberg trials, all of this stuff. I was just doing what I was said. I feared for my life. You know, I didn't know what the repercussions were if I said no, things of that nature. Milgram studied this and did an experiment on humans in the 60s, 70s, I'm not sure when. They also did a control group where they placed an actor in there that refused to do it, refused to place harm. In that instance, you know, 50 or 60% of the people followed that person out the door, whereas before it might have been under 10% of the people just said, I can't do this. I don't want to inflict harm on somebody. So those numbers changed based off of, you know, one person being adamant and saying no. People follow that person's lead instead of listening to the authoritarian figure. The other thing was Philip Zimbardo's prison experiment, Stanford prison experiment. What they did in that experiment was, you know, they took, say, it was like 10 college students, they made them prison guards, and they took 10 college students and made them prisoners. After, I think it was a few days, basically the whole experiment went haywire. The guards were mentally, physically tormenting the people, having them put buckets on their head, having them go to the bathroom in their prison cell, just being terrible to them. Again, this is what happened, that group dynamic, and they accepted these roles. This is kind of what happened when we look at the Nazi stuff in this book. All of this evil around, they got placed in a position of power. There was the authoritarian figure. There was a group dynamic. It was not wanting to be a coward, you know, in front of your comrades. All of this stuff played a role in how these group of ordinary men became evil killing machines. Crazy. You know, some of these things too that we're talking about, you know, there's your family, there's friends, there's your fitness, there's your finances. These are 4 important things, 4 F's we'll call them. You know, a few weeks ago I got to spend some time with my friends and it was incredible. We went out for a birthday party. I don't recall laughing as much as I did that night. You know, there was no alcohol involved, at least on my end of the spectrum here. It was just a bunch of people getting together and having fun. And, you know, it really got me thinking, you know, you could have these big social gatherings. I don't know what it is with adults. I don't know what it is in our nature, in our community, in our environment where, you know, we feel the need to be, to have the social lubricant, so to speak. I'm a shy person, but you put me out there with some friends and having some fun, it's all good. Had a lot of fun. It's one area that I'm lacking, hanging out with friends, spending time with friends, getting some good laughs, and I'm missing out on that in my personal life. I think I need to start reincorporating that. Something that I just learned, kind of be an introspective individual. And lastly here, you know, well, no, not lastly. I got 2 more things here. One of them is a quote. Those who will not risk cannot win. John Paul Jones, I believe he was a naval commander. You know, everything that we do in life, we got to take a little bit of a risk. We got to take a little bit of a chance. We're not being, you know, when we talk about raising kids, we want our kids to take risks. But we don't want them to do such risky behavior that they could harm themselves. We want them to explore the stairs, but not by themselves when they're 1.5 years old and could take a tumble backwards. We want them to explore the balance beam at gymnastics like my little girl does. We went from having 2 hands to 1 hand. Eventually, we want her to explore that balance beam without any help. We want her to climb things. We just want her to try stuff. I think as adults, we need to continue to try risky things, but safe risks. You know, we don't want to put ourselves in a harm way all for a little bit of a social gain. There's that asymmetric risk situation. We want our reward to outweigh the risk. So yeah, something to think about. Keep challenging yourself as you get older here, boys and girls. It's the only way that we're going to be able to grow. Lastly, speaking of parenting, you know, one of my things here that I wanted to talk about, I was listening to Jocko Willing. Impose discipline, self-discipline, right? Impose discipline is this. we're making rules. I need you to show up on time for your practice, right? That's imposed discipline. We're going to wear the same uniform. Impose discipline, telling a kid, hey, you got to wear this. These are the rules. Being good to your teammates, being kind, getting good grades. These are rules that are imposed. And then we might enforce these rules with some repercussions, saying, hey, if you don't follow the rules, you're not going to play. But then there's a self-discipline. It's actually doing good deeds because that's what you want to do. It's not being imposed on you from an outside source. And when it comes down to motivation, to whether or not you want to do something, it's going to be imposed discipline that's going to get you to that goal. Sorry, it's going to be self-discipline that's going to get you to that goal. It's not going to be imposed discipline. No matter how hard you want somebody like you, we might need that push in life. We're going to need that support system. We're going to need those we're going to need those friends. We're going to need that family to have our back. We need that. But at the end of the day, it's us. We need to have the self-discipline to accomplish things. And if we don't, we're going to always struggle. All right? So take that look in the mirror, man. It's coming down to you, and it's nobody else. Boom. You're the man right there, Chris Flook. If you want something to change, you got to do it on your own. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Weekly Word, March 11th edition. Be on the lookout today. Like I said, new podcast is coming. Vince, see you in a few hours, brother. Peace.